The girl's last bite, the shocking truth that changed everything at midnight. In the dim glow of the old diner sign, a curiously eerie chill hung in the air, swirling with a sense of foreboding that whispered through the street. It wasn't just any ordinary night, it was the night when everything would change. A girl, a late-night craving, and a secret that simmered beneath the surface, ready to explode. As the clock struck 12, something sinister was about to unfold, something that would send shockwaves through the small town of Maplewood. A single moment, hanging by a thread, could it really be true? Kathy, the girl with fiery red hair and a carefree smile, walked into the diner. The bell jingled above her head, cutting through the heavy silence like a knife. The diner owner, Greg, looked up from behind the counter, his brow furrowing in concern. He'd seen a lot of things in his years, but the whispers he'd heard earlier that day were more than unsettling, they were chilling. People were talking about a strange dish that had appeared on the menu only that week, a mysterious, midnight delight. No one knew who created it or what was in it, but once you took a bite, rumor had it, you couldn't stop, and you'd never be the same again. As Kathy approached the counter, her hands were trembling. She could feel the eyes of the few late-night patrons watching her, their whispers hanging in the air like smoke. "You sure you want to try that?" one cracked voice called out. Kathy hesitated, her heart racing. The horror stories being exchanged sent a shiver down her spine. Last girl that tried it, she just vanished. But curiosity clawed at her, and her stomach rumbled louder than her fear. What was the worst that could happen? And just then, the lights flickered, plunging the diner into momentary darkness. Gasps filled the room, then a low hum of panic. It was palpable. When the lights returned, Kathy saw Greg's face had gone ashen. "Forget about that dish," he whispered urgently, his voice shaking. "There's more going on here than you know. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Kathy's heart raced, a mix of fear and anticipation swirling inside her. What could be so dangerous about a simple meal? It was just food, right? But the way Greg's eyes darted toward the back of the diner spoke volumes. "They're not what you think they are," he hissed, earning an incredulous look from the nearest customer. Silence fell again, but tension dripped like sweat down the walls. Kathy took a deep breath, debating her next move. She felt as if every option had been stripped away, and yet, something deep within urged her forward. As she turned to order the midnight delight, the door slammed open. A figure rushed in, breathless and wild-eyed. "You have to stop her," they shouted. "You don't know what will happen if she takes a bite." And just like that, the clock struck 12 again, marking the beginning of something no one could have ever predicted. Where would it lead them all? The moment he entered, all eyes turned toward the new arrival. His wild hair, tousled and damp with sweat, framed a face twisted with urgency. Kathy's heart pounded, each thud echoing in her ears. "You have to stop her," he repeated, eyes darting in every direction, searching for an ally among the frightened patrons. "Who are you?" Greg demanded, wiping his hands on his apron, his voice laced with a mix of concern and irritation. "What is going on?" The man scanned the diner before locking eyes with Kathy. You can't eat that dish. It's a trap. A curse." The word hung in the air like a foul stench, drawing gasps from the crowd. Kathy felt a chill race down her spine, her instincts telling her to flee, yet her curiosity tethered her to the spot. "A curse?" she echoed, trying to grasp the enormity of what he was saying. "What do you mean?" "Listen," he shot back, desperation clawing at his words. I'm not from around here, but I heard the stories. The Midnight Delight is not just food, it's bait. Once you take a bite, you can't turn back. You'll be changed forever. The patrons whispered among themselves, eyes widening in horror. A muffled gasp came from a woman sitting in the corner, her hands trembling as she hugged her coat tighter around her. Why would anyone want that? Kathy found her voice, trying to sound brave despite the quaver. Who made it? The man hesitated, glancing out the window as if half expecting something dreadful to come crashing through the glass. A witch, he finally whispered, each syllable coated in fear. She's been lurking around this diner, feeding off the souls of those who indulge. The last girl who tried it? She was never seen again. Kathy felt her breath hitch in her throat. But it's just food. How can it? That's the trick, he cut her off sharply. It looks harmless, but it isn't. It will consume you from the inside out, make you crave more until there's nothing left of who you are. You'll be a shell, a puppet to her will. Greg stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper now. She's onto us. People have been disappearing for weeks, and anyone who orders that dish they might never return. You don't want to be the next one, Kathy. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the back of the diner. All heads turned toward the sounds, where shadows danced dangerously close. The door to the kitchen swung open violently, and a spectral figure emerged, eyes glowing fiercely. Too late. She cackled, a bone-chilling sound that sent shivers racing through the crowd. You're all mine now. In that moment, time seemed to freeze, the diner holding its collective breath as the witch stepped forward. Her presence was palpable, heavy with darkness, and Kathy felt the weight of it pressing down on her. Run! The man yelled, but before anyone could move, the witch extended a skeletal finger pointing directly at Kathy. You want to take a bite? Come forward, darling. I promise you'll never want to leave. Panic erupted as patrons scrambled for the exits, the sound of chairs clattering and screams tearing through the air. Kathy's heart raced, disbelief coursing through her veins. Would she succumb to the pull of the Midnight Delight? Or could she escape the horror unfolding before her? And as her mind raced, the witch's laughter echoed through the diner, chilling Kathy to her core. The choices loomed ahead like dark figures in a fog, to confront the witch, to flee, or to join those who had disappeared. What would she choose? And, more importantly, how would she ever break the curse she was now tangled in? Kathy's legs felt heavy, like they were anchored to the floor. As chaos erupted around her, she barely registered the frantic bodies pushing past, desperate to escape the malevolent presence at the center of the diner. The man's terrified gaze darted between her and the witch, his voice rising above the panic. Please. You have to get out of here. It's a trap. Why me? She managed to whisper, her breath coming in shallow gasps, their eyes locked, a flicker of understanding passing between them. He seemed to see something in her, something worth saving. I don't know. Maybe because you're the only one left who hasn't tasted her dish. Make it out of here and find help. Find the woman who can fight her. At that moment, the witch's voice dripped with frost as she turned to Kathy, her grin stretching wider, revealing jagged teeth. Oh, my sweet, why resist? Join my feast. As my precious guest, you'll experience pleasure beyond your wildest dreams. The diner's clamor was deafening, and Kathy felt the weight of the witch's gaze like a brand on her skin. It was impossible to think clearly. She could either run with the fear-stricken crowd or confront the beast before her, knowing full well that the Midnight Delight's curse loomed behind her, waiting. A Midnight Delight? She stammered, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. What do you really do to people? Smoke swirled in the air as the witch stepped closer, her presence smothering and suffocating. Those who take a bite. She gestured theatrically, her voice low and crooning, they find themselves drawn to me. I grant them what they desire, a world of indulgence and ecstasy. But it comes at a cost. Their humanity. Kathy's mind raced. Was it worth it? The curse was so real and yet so abstract. She could feel its pull at the back of her mind. One bite was all it would take. Curiosity, rebelliousness, and deep-seated hunger for something more clawed at her. Flee while you still can. The man shouted again, breaking through the haze of fear. With a jolt, Kathy turned on her heel and pushed towards the exit, hearts pounding like drums echoing in her ears. Bodies were scrambling, but she fought against the tide, inching closer to the door. Just as she reached for it, laughter erupted. Not so fast, darling. The witch's voice was sharp like ice, freezing Kathy in place. The door slammed shut with a bang, locking her in with the growing chaos. Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, casting wild shadows across the diner. You'll never leave now, the witch crooned, a sinister smile stretching across her gaunt face. You belong to me. The man sprang forward, rage fueling his determination. No. We have to break her hold. He lunged at the witch, but she twisted, her finger flicking through the air. Dark tendrils shot out from her, snaking toward him. Kathy looked back, desperation pooling in her chest. She could hear the whispers of those lost, their lives extinguished by the curse. The thought ignited something inside her. I won't let you take anyone else. She shouted, her heart pounding with sudden ferocity. Making a split-second decision, she turned toward the kitchen where the midnight delight was prepared. If there was a chance to save her fate and fight the curse, it lay beyond that door. With a fierce determination, she burst through the kitchen door, leaving behind the chaos. The air shifted, thick with a sense of impending doom, as she plunged deeper into darkness, but as she turned the corner, she was met with a sight that stole her breath, a massive cauldron bubbling with a viscous liquid, the aroma sweet yet densely sinister. The walls were lined with jars labeled with names of the missing. Her stomach twisted, fear flooding her senses. She had to find a way to break the spell, but the weight of the witch's presence loomed like a storm cloud overhead, ready to unleash its fury. Would she find the answer in the belly of the beast? And then, a whisper broke through the bubbling chaos, soft yet jarring. Not everything is what it seems. Kathy's heart raced as she spun around, her grip tightening on the edge of the counter. What truth was hiding in the shadows? What dark surprise awaited her in that twisted kitchen of horrors? Kathy's breath caught in her throat. The kitchen was a nightmare painted in shadows, but the whisper echoed like a bell, demanding her attention. She turned slowly, scanning the dimly lit corners where darkness clung like a second skin. Who's there? She called out, her voice trembling. Silence enveloped her, thick as molasses. Her eyes flickered to the bubbling cauldron. Steam curled like ghostly fingers, forming shapes that flickered in her periphery. This was where the midnight delight was birthed, filled with all the desires that led countless souls astray. But what lay in those jars? Names she didn't recognize. What if one belonged to someone she knew? Focus, Kathy. She murmured to herself, forcing her body to move. The witch's laughter still resonated, a reminder of the suffocating danger that waited just beyond this kitchen. Creeping closer to the cauldron, she squinted at the liquid that churned within. Was it truly as dark as it looked? The scent was intoxicating, a mixture of sweetness and rot. She fought the urge to lean in closer. Something told her this was where she could find answers. Then the voice came again, clearer this time. To break the curse, you must understand the secret of the midnight delight. It has been hidden away for far too long. Kathy's heart raced as she followed the trail of the voice. It was coming from behind a row of jars. She rushed to them, pressing her palms against their cool surfaces, hoping to find something more than mere names. One jar, dusty and cracked, caught her attention. She thumped it hard against the counter. The lid popped open, and inside lay a tattered scroll. Eagerly, she unrolled it, her eyes scanning the elegantly penned script. As she read, shock washed over her. The midnight delight feeds on the dreams and desires of those it touches. But one ingredient renders it powerless: tears of a pure heart. Kathy's fingers trembled. Tears? She didn't have that kind of power. Could she even find a pure enough emotion within her? But the moment shattered with a jolt as a heavy shadow fell over her. She spun around to see the witch stepping into the kitchen, her eyes glowing with malevolence. You should not have come here, dear. I do not take kindly to intruders, especially those seeking my secrets. The witch's voice slithered past her, and Kathy felt the air crackle with tension. Panic surged through her, but she forced herself to hold steady. I know about the tears, she yelled, summoning the last fragments of courage. I can break your hold. The witch's grin widened into a terrifying smile, but underneath, Kathy could see the flicker of something akin to fear. You think you can elude the midnight delight? Think again. Before Kathy could react, the witch waved her hand. The jars rattled on the shelves as the darkness surged, reaching for her like grasping hands. Kathy dove to the side, but as she scrambled back toward the cauldron, she caught a glimpse of something glowing in the depths: a small, crystal vial that shimmered, untouched by the darkness swirling around her. Grabbing it, she lifted it high. This will stop you. The witch let out a shriek, the sound echoing harshly against the kitchen walls. No. You don't know what you're doing. With the vial clutched tightly, Kathy turned and ran toward the door, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. The whispers in the darkness grew louder, urging her to trust herself, to find that pure emotion deep inside her. Kathy burst back into the dining area, her voice ringing out amidst the chaos. I will end this curse once and for all. But as she faced the crowd, the witch's chilling laughter echoed around her once more. You can't escape your desire, my dear. You will join my feast. Kathy's resolve hardened. She would fight. But could she tap into a pure emotion before the witch's curse claimed her? With the fate of everyone in the diner hanging in the balance, Kathy took a deep breath, preparing to confront the truth she wasn't sure she could face. What was the heart of the midnight delight? As the intense energy swirled around her, one thought pierced through the din: was there someone she could truly save, before it was too late? Kathy stood frozen, the shimmering veil feeling like a lifeline in her shaking grip. The laughter of the witch echoed menacingly, wrapping around her like chains. She could feel the weight of countless eyes in the diner, their expressions twisted with confusion and fear. They had no idea what she was up against. Kathy! A voice called out from the throng. It was Bill, the diner's cook, his face pale with dread but his eyes fierce. What are you doing? Don't! The witch's smile contorted into a snarl as she lifted her hand again, forcing shadows into sharp points that darted toward Kathy like arrows. She sidestepped just in time, feeling the brush of one pass by, cold and hungry. Fear mixed with resolve surged inside her. The weight of her friend's safety hung in the air heavily. You have to focus, she screamed, her voice swallowing the witch's malevolence. This ends now. Kathy's heart raced as she surveyed the room. A tangled web of desires permeated the air, pulling at her. People in the diner sat entranced, their eyes glossed as they succumbed to the shadows of their own wishes. Every dream, every longing screamed for release, longing to break free. And she felt it: every ache, every shred of hope, infused with an intensity that made her chest tighten. Find your deepest grief, the voice had whispered before. But in this moment, she needed to tap into resilience instead. She closed her eyes and thought of what she had been missing. The anger at being pushed aside, the heartbreak of friends who had lost themselves in the nightly rituals of the midnight delight. It filled her with fire. Come on, she shouted, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. You are stronger than this. Bill stepped closer, breaking from the paralysis. He called out, Kathy. Show us. Show us how to fight. His voice felt like a beacon. The witch shrieked in frustration. Enough! You know not what you awaken. With renewed fervor, Kathy raised the vial high, letting her determination pulse through her body. My tears are a remedy, she yelled, and suddenly a burst of memories flooded through her. Her friends in laughter, their shared dreams, moments of vulnerability. The good mingled with the painful, and the warmth of love mingled with the cold grasp of despair. One tear slipped down her cheek, glistening as it fell upon the vial. Instantly, it began to glow brighter, absorbing her strength, illuminating flickering shadows around the diner. The crowd gasped as the tendrils of darkness holding them recoiled, fraying at the edges. Do you see? The power of emotions! Kathy cried, hope swelling inside her, her own belief fusing with the magic of the vial. With every thought of love, bravery, and loss, more tears fell. The light began to engulf the shadows, pushing them further away, escaping the pull of the midnight delight. No! You cannot control it. The witch's voice trembled, echoing with desperate fury and fear. Kathy felt an electrifying surge rushing through her veins. She had a choice. Her heart raced. She could harness this power to liberate herself and everyone else in the diner, but in that fragile moment, the witch raised her other hand, and from it, a dark mist spiraled upward, revealing a heart-wrenching vision, a fragmented memory of her closest friends, trapped in a world where their desires had turned malignant. Join them, Kathy. The witch hissed, the shadows twisting around her. Let the midnight delight guide you to your true self. Kathy's blood ran cold as the vision blurred, and a chaos of thoughts tugged at her. Could she really save them all? Could she wield the power of the vial without succumbing to her own desires? As she hastened to make her decision, a glimmering truth echoed in her mind. To break the curse meant uncovering not only her strengths but their vulnerabilities too. Her pulse raced. This battle was far from over. What would she sacrifice to save them all, and could she truly save those she cared about before the witch claimed them forever? Kathy's heart hammered in her chest as she faced the witch, the shadows swirling around her like hungry serpents. She could feel the pull of the whispered dreams, the temptations lurking in the air, threatening to ensnare her. In that tumultuous moment, she summoned every ounce of courage she had. No! She shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. I won't give in. The witch recoiled, caught off guard by the unwavering light radiating from the vial. Kathy felt the warmth pulsing through her, urging her to focus. Each tear, each shimmering memory she conjured, was a shield against the encroaching darkness. Bill stepped closer, his presence a steadying force. You've got this, Kathy. Remember the good times, the laughter. We're all in this together. He yelled, his voice a lifeline in the storm. With a swift movement, Kathy pointed the vial toward the witch, and the beam of light shot forward, illuminating the darkness that threatened to consume her friends. You won't take them. Not today. Everything within her surged as she remembered their shared moments playing cards at the diner, the late-night driving adventures, the silly mischief born from their bond. Each recollection refined her focus, transforming her grief into a weapon. The shadows clashing against the light emitted from the vial twisted and contorted, desperate to take form but bound by Kathy's resolve. Suddenly, the witch began to shake, her confident exterior cracking. You think you can defeat me? She screamed, rage spilling from her lips like venom. You're nothing but a child playing with forces beyond your understanding. Maybe so, Kathy shot back, her voice steadying as she let the light grow brighter. But I'm not alone. The diner erupted into murmurs. Faces once shrouded in despair looked at Kathy with dawning hope. The realization that they could fight back sparked like wildfire as more of them broke free from the witch's grasp, their eyes flickering back to life. For every soul awakened, the shadows shrank, sputtering as if suffocated. Kathy! A voice rang out. It was Jenna, her closest friend, her cheeks stained with tears that reflected the swirling light. We believe in you. Don't stop. Kathy's heart swelled. With newfound strength, she closed her eyes and reached deep into herself, embracing her vulnerability and the hope within. "Together!" she cried, her voice resonating through the diner. "Together, we reclaim our dreams." With every ounce of shared emotion and unity, the light from the vial reached out, enveloping everyone in a radiant embrace. Each person felt its support, friendship, the warmth of connection, and they all began to merge their hopes, their desires, into a singular force, fueled by the desire to fight back. That it dawned on Kathy then, it wasn't just her strength, it was the collective energy of everyone around her. Peeking through the haze of shadowy desires, she glimpsed the fractured visions of her friends now standing resolute beside her, shadows no longer hanging over them, but just as triumph felt tangible. The witch cackled, a chilling sound that slashed through the second of hope. "You think you're heroes? You underestimate the power of darkness. I'll unleash it all." The air vibrated with her words, and suddenly, shadowy figures began to rise, monstrous and grotesque, reclaiming their forms, trying to break through the light. Kathy staggered back, her energy flickering as the images of her friends began to morph into painful reflections of their desires gone wrong. The line between reality and the witch's nightmare blurred, with the shadows closing in. Kathy's breath hitched. She needed to decide. Could she push back against the impending darkness or go deeper, steal a glimpse of the agony hiding within herself that could give her the key to victory? The moment trembled with uncertainty as she teetered on the brink. Could she truly unearth the pain of her heart for the ultimate sacrifice needed to save them? And just as the first tendrils of darkness reached for her, she understood her real fight had just begun. Kathy's heart raced, the overwhelming pressure of the shadows closing in, forcing her to confront not just the witch but also the looming doubt within herself. She couldn't breathe. The air felt thick, as if every inhale pulled her deeper into the suffocating darkness. Her friends were losing hope. She could see it in their faces, their expressions twisted with pain and fear. "Kathy!" Jenna cried again, her voice fading, almost drowning in the storm of chaos. It hit Kathy like a punch. She couldn't let that happen. "Not now. Stay with me," she yelled, straining to keep the light around them intact. The shadows writhed eagerly, trailing fingers of darkness that threatened to ensnare her friends, to pull them away into the abyss. They were desperate, twisting and wringing for a chance to whisper lies to the hearts of those once bright with hope. Kathy felt their panic surge through her like a tsunami, mixing with her own. The witch's laughter echoed, sharp and mocking. "Do you want to know why you will fail, little girl? Because without pain, you are powerless." With a flick of her wrist, she unleashed a tide of shadows, slashing through the light. Kathy stumbled, gasping. The faces of her friends spiraled into the dark, a whirlwind of lost dreams and regret. Bill reached for her, his brow furrowed in determination. "Kathy, focus. We're still here. We're fighting." His voice rang like a bell, pulling her back from the brink, but it felt like a dream unraveling. What if he was wrong? What if this was truly it? Shadows peeled away the bright memories, revealing the raw ached pain each of them had buried. She saw glimpses of regret flash across their faces, missed opportunities, lost loved ones, dreams that twisted into nightmares. Kathy's breath came jagged, the weight of their anguish bearing down on her. She had to dig deeper, but could she bear to? The thought of unearthing her own darkness sent tremors through her body. She felt exposed and terrified. Then, in that heartbeat of despair, something flickered in her mind, a distant memory of laughter shared, of warmth that transcended pain. A glimmer of a night spent chasing fireflies. Could that light be enough? Kathy clenched her fists, summoning the warmth of every joyful moment she could grasp. It surged inside her, growing like a wildfire. "I will not be defined by pain," she declared. The shadows wailed, their form convulsing. Light shattered from the vial, twisting through the growing darkness, pushing back against the impending despair. All at once, the faces of her friends sharpened back into focus, one by one, emerging from the haze. I remember Jenna's voice trembled, her light flaring back to life. "We can endure together. Bill nodded, his face resolute. No more hiding. We're all in this. We will face whatever she throws at us. Kathy felt the power of their unity flood her, a rush that blazed through the encroaching shadows. The light pulsed brighter. She took a deep breath, her heart echoing their resolve. Together, we give our pain purpose. And with that, they surged forward, their combined light flooding the diner, a brilliant scream against the shadows, shoving back the very essence of despair. But as the light smashed through the darkness, a high-pitched shriek erupted from the witch, rippling through reality itself, promising vengeance. The shadows contorted violently, reeling. Just as hope surged, a haunting realization struck: this battle was far from over. The witch wasn't just any foe, she was drawing strength from their fears, transforming pain into monstrosities. Reveal yourselves. Kathy screamed, igniting the last reserves of power she could muster. The pain can't control us. But there was a flicker, a whisper from the edge, a deep-rooted secret that dug at the very core of her. What if facing this darkness meant confronting something she never expected? Was the truth of her pain even hers to bear? With every word, shadows recoiled, but one spark of fear flickered stronger within her, unanswered and haunting. What lay ahead was a choice, sharp and jagged, and it lingered ominously on the horizon of her heart. The ultimate question gnawed at her: what if facing the truth meant embracing the very darkness she fought against? The scream of the witch echoed, reverberating inside Kathy's mind like a thunderclap. As the shadows twisted and turned, they seemed to grow bolder, hungry for the light she had ignited. Kathy's grip on the energy surrounding them faltered, and the oppressive dark surged forward, clawing at her resolve. Stay strong. Bill's voice cut through the chaos, but his words were strained, a mere whisper against the onslaught of shadows. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, raw and unyielding as dread wrapped around her like a vice. Each pulse reminded her of the burdens they carried, the weight of secrets left unspoken, the scars borne on their souls. Don't let them in. Jenna shouted, though her voice broke. There was a flicker in her eyes, darting back and forth as if she were searching for an escape route that wasn't there. Kathy's heart sank. They were in a battlefield of their own making, yet every inch they regained was met by a deeper onslaught of darkness. Feel your pain. The witch's voice was an alluring melody, seducing with treachery. Kathy felt the shadows slither closer, whispering tendrils of doubt. What dark truths lie buried within? Embrace them. They'll make you powerful. No. Kathy shouted back, her voice bursting with defiance. But something inside her trembled. Could it be true? Was deep-rooted pain a source of strength? Each time she recalled the laughter from that firefly night, a hidden anguish pulled at her heart, begging for recognition. The air surged with electricity. A crackling pulse of energy began to emerge from the remnants of their light. The threads binding Kathy to her friends felt tenuous, teetering on a precipice. She locked eyes with Bill, who gave her a stern nod, one that conveyed strength and vulnerability all at once. "We're with you," he whispered fiercely. The shadows relented for a moment, as if sensing their resolve. Kathy had to push forward. She had to expose the witch's ploy. These shadows can't own us. We are more than our pain. The witch's laughter crescendoed, a haunting cackle that cut through the burgeoning confidence like glass. Are you so certain? Can you even look at your friends without seeing the skeletons in your own closet? Every lost dream weighs you down with each word. Shadows thrashed violently, restless, eager to ensnare. It was as though they were feeding on her fear. Their whispers grew louder, promising power in exchange for surrender. Kathy's breath quickened. She wanted to shut them out, but their voices felt eerily familiar, echoing her own doubts. "Kathy, focus," Bill urged. "We can't falter now." A flash of desperation swamped her. The choices loomed, a vertex of darkness promising solitude or unity embracing their pain. Would confronting her own shadows serve her as a weapon, or would it shatter what light remained? Please, Kathy implored the group, urgency rising in her chest. We need to look within, to confront what scares us most together. As her words hung in the air, a silence fell over the diner. The shadows writhed, glistening as if alive, an anticipation brewed, thick enough to choke on. One by one, her friends nodded, determination hardening their expressions. Suddenly, Kathy felt the ground give way beneath her, a ripple of energy shifting. The barriers between them and the shadows cracked and split. For a heartbeat, time froze. Would they plunge into a void of despair together, or would they uncover the very truths that had haunted them? The shadows surged, yearning to reclaim what they believed belonged to them. All eyes locked onto Kathy, as if waiting for her to take the first step. Her heart thundered in her chest. Could she bear to reveal her darkness? With one last breath, she stepped forward, ready to confront the chilling secret that begged for release. What if the truth was more horrifying than she imagined? In that vulnerable moment, the shadows began to pulse, a cruel smirk trailing behind them. The witch's voice slithered in after her. Welcome to the brink, little girl, let us see what you're really made of. Kathy stood at the edge of an abyss, her heart hammering like a wild drum. The shadows whispered now, swirling around her in a mocking fashion, twisting her fears into grotesque shapes that danced in her mind's eye. She could feel their cold breath on her neck, an icy reminder of the truths she'd buried deep down. Remember what they did, remember. The witch's voice wrapped itself around her, curling like smoke in the air. Memories surged forth, unbidden. Dark moments of betrayal, hurtful words flung like stones, the laughter that had turned to silence. Kathy clenched her jaw. She pushed against the tidal wave of doubt threatening to drown her. Bill. Jenna, she shrieked, her hands trembling. We need to face it. We're stronger together. Jenna's eyes widened with something akin to terror. But what if, Kathy interrupted, urgency slicing through her fear. What if the truth isn't as bad as living in the shadow of our secrets? We can't let it control us. With that, a burst of defiance surged within her, illuminating the shadows for a fleeting second. Bill's expression mirrored her own, a mix of fear and determination. I'm with you, Kathy. We have to confront it now. As they stood together, a truce was forged among the trio, stronger than any unseen force that threatened them. They joined hands, a physical link, grounding them in the rising tide of darkness. Each of their hearts beat as one, a chorus of unity against chaos. But the shadows, sensing their resolve, writhed violently, attempting to peel apart their connection. You think you can overcome me? The witch's voice taunted, sharp enough to cut. You are nothing without your pain. It is your only ally. Kathy felt the shadows claw in deeper, her own doubts spiraling out into a whirlpool of despair. Look inside. Bill shouted, his voice intense. What are you afraid of the most? We won't let it win. With a deep breath, Kathy closed her eyes, envisioning her past. The firefly night. The laughter. But there, shrouded in that glow, was the silent scream, her voice lost in the chaos, heartbreak buried in the crevices of her memory. She had to face it. It's not just pain, she breathed, her voice trembling yet firm. It's part of who I am. I won't let you twist it against me. With her heart pounding, she opened her eyes, ready to embrace everything she'd hidden. The shadows recoiled, their forms shifting uneasily. A glimmer of light sparked between them, the building power of resolution emanating from her friends, stronger than before. Let us expose this. Jenna cried, and she steeled herself. Suddenly, a vision flashed before her, fractured and vivid, the night she had lost her sister, the empty seat at the table, the words she never got the chance to say. Despair enveloped her, but alongside it came a surge of love, a promise not to let fear dictate her life any longer. The shadows shrieked, writhing in fury as the light glimmered brighter. You think you've won? You'll see what happens when you dive into the depths. Kathy felt a pull, the shadows reaching for her once more. But there was no turning back. As they swirled around her, she gripped her friends tighter, warmth radiating off them like a shield. "We're ready for whatever is lurking." But just as she stepped forward, an icy gust tore through the diner, snuffing out their light. For a moment, darkness enveloped them completely. Dread pooled in her stomach as the air thickened with something more, an unfamiliar presence that felt tangible, like a waiting predator shifting in the shadows. Could she withstand whatever awaited them? Time hung heavy, and suddenly, unexpectedly, the shadows erupted with haunting laughter, echoing through the air as if to mock their courage. "Welcome to the truth," the witch crooned, dripping with malice. "And remember, the deeper the plunge, the darker the secrets." Kathy's breath caught in her throat, as the flickering light around her began to dim. How could they brace for the depths of despair? What awaited them in that dark pool? Kathy stood tall, fighting against the tide of fear that threatened to swallow her whole. The shadows danced angrily around her, twisting and bending as they roared with laughter, but she could feel the glimmers of her friends pressing toward her, urging her to stand strong. She cast a quick glance around her, eyes meeting Bill's and Jenna's, both fiery embers of hope amid the swirling darkness. "We've come this far together," she shouted, desperation mingling with determination. "We can't let this moment break us." With that declaration, she felt a strange warmth surge through her, bubbling from the depths of her heart. It was a memory, recalling that summer night filled with laughter, fireflies, and the sense of camaraderie among friends. Emotion swelled within her, intertwining joy and sorrow, and she embraced each one, channeling it into a force of purifying light. "Together!" Bill echoed, grasping her hand tighter, their connection forging a barrier against the shadows. Jenna nodded fervently, her determination engulfing Kathy's fear like sunlight piercing through clouds. The shadows writhed, angrily slashing out at them. "You think you're strong? You're merely children clinging to naive dreams." The witch howled, her voice a venomous hiss that slashed through the air like a whip. Kathy refused to cower. "We are more than our dreams, more than our fears. Our pain won't control us." She could feel the truth of all their shared vulnerabilities filling the space as they fanned the flames of defiance within. With their hands united, they took a bold step forward, igniting the light that pulsed from the vial once more, directing it at the howling shadows. "We reject this curse. You can't destroy us." The onslaught of darkness hesitated, recoiling slightly as the vibrant light began to engulf them like a cleansing wave. It shattered the oppressive aura, scattering shadows momentarily while illuminating their path through the dimly lit diner. The witch's cackle turned frantic. "No! You cannot escape me." But as they advanced, pushing further against the gnarled fingers of despair, Kathy felt a glimmer of understanding. She turned to face the witch, powered by the connections they shared. "What if we embrace the truth instead? What if we find strength in vulnerability?" The witch's face contorted with rage, and her features twisted into something grotesque. "You dare to challenge the very essence of what makes you weak?" Smiling defiantly, Kathy found herself echoed by her friends. "If we face our fears, it's not weakness. It's power. And we'll draw from every joy and sorrow to fuel our light." With those words, a radiant glow pulsed from the vial, transforming from mere light into a vivid tapestry of every emotion they shared. It wrapped around them, igniting with vibrancy as the memories spiraled out: laughter, tears, heartbreak, and messy joy. This collective energy amalgamated into a force that swept forward, pushing against the shadows, scattering them like ashes before a fierce wind. The witch's laughter turned to cries of desperation, but it was too late. The shadows buckled, twisting into harmless forms, their grip diminishing, unable to withstand the cleansing light that radiated from shared strength. Kathy felt it in her bones, resonating with each pulse of memory they conjured. Then, just as they reached the heart of the swirling darkness, the witch's figure faltered, flickering as the beam of brilliance struck her. "You cannot banish me." But the power of hope prevailed. "Yes, we can," Kathy cried, heart surging with belonging, every ounce of their shared spirit pushing back the darkness. And with one last brilliant flash of light, a burst fueled by truth, camaraderie, and the acceptance of both their light and dark, they obliterated the shadows once and for all. The diner went silent. A profound stillness settled, heavy with the aftermath of their battle. Slowly, the dim lights flickered back to life, revealing bewildered faces among the patrons who had once been imprisoned in despair. Kathy took a deep breath, taste of victory sweet on her tongue, but it was tainted with a touch of sadness for those they had lost and the shadows they had faced together. Yet the bright connections among her friends sparkled like the sun breaking through clouds, reminding her of what truly mattered. "Is it over?" Jenna whispered, the tremors of fear still fresh. Kathy smiled softly, her heart calm. "For now. But we'll stay vigilant. Together." They huddled close, a small family forged in the fire of resolve. The diner, once a chamber of horrors, now held remnants of laughter, memories, and hope like embers waiting to ignite. The witch was gone, but they carried a stronger truth. In unity, they could face whatever came next, and as the diner filled with the sound of chatter, warmth seeped back into the air. Kathy knew they were ready for anything. They could savor the flavor of freedom, celebrating the fight for their futures. Just outside, a new dawn broke, colors swelling and intertwining in the sky, a symbol of what lay ahead. Fresh beginnings awaited, illuminated by the choices they had made to reclaim their lives. Now was the time to live unapologetically, with hearts wide open. Make sure you don't miss our next exclusive story. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any thrilling tales like this one. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let us rise together. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.